Good morning, sunshines, or as my son just reminded me, it's not morning right now, but that's fine. So just go with it anyways. Good morning, sunshine. Say good morning, sunshine in the comment, hashtag GMS. We're going to do a Whitten John update here. But we always throughout our day, we go through gratitude continuously, right? I know Thanksgiving's over, you guys, but we still give thanks all of the time. So, what do you give thanks for today? And how is that affecting your lives? I've really been connecting to a lot of different things lately, but like last night I was just laying in bed and just looking at all of the like really small things that make me smile, just the feel of a good pillow and in my soft sheets and like delicious smells and having my diffuser and all those different things. So what makes you feel good? What's something you're grateful for? Let's talk about Whit and John. Let's talk about Texas. We are back from Texas, and you guys, it just might be true that everything is bigger in Texas. I mean, we saw this light display that blew my mind, and these houses were unbelievable. Like the neighborhood was just like poof, in this place called River Oaks. It was absolutely crazy. So, yeah, GMS, my I love it. It was a great trip, but I want to kind of rewind and just kind of catch you guys up of why we went, what we were doing there, and what we got out of it. But I'll still make it short and sweet. Course. I knew my daughter would know that I was going live right now, and I didn't press like she's going to call me 15 times. So we'll see if this works. So about 6 months ago, Whit John was diagnosed with this very rare disease called Langerhans cell histiocytosis. And what happened in Langerhans cell histiocytosis is basically there's these histiocytes, which are good things that our bodies need, but the histiocytes in Whit and John's body are finding home, and they're not supposed to find home. They're supposed to circulate throughout his blood, throughout his body, and do what they're supposed to do, right? But instead, Whit and John's are finding spots to be where others gather up, and then other things start to come in, and they kind of eat away at the bone. They can eat away at different organs, different things, but he has multi-system. So he's, well, singular system, but multi-areas. So his are in bones, but different areas. Another thing that's occurred for him is the first one of them is in his pituitary, right back here behind your eyes. Whit and John, can you please not do that? Babe, can you grab him real quick just while I do my update video? And the pituitary has affected his hormone function. First one being something called diabetes insipidus, which is now called arginine vasopressin deficiency, which is where his body doesn't produce this hormone to make him stop peeing. When your brain has a tumor on it, when your pituitary has a tumor on it, by the way, these are all things that I learned this weekend. So this is part of the conversation of why Texas, right? But there's these 6 other different, I think it's just 6, primary hormone functions that your pituitary also does, which he has to be monitored for by an endocrinologist. Will follow him like basically the rest of his life. Okay, so when we got the diagnosis, you guys, we were obviously like completely overturned. We were like, what's going on? It was really challenging because the chemotherapy we were doing was really jacking up his diabetes insipidus because he has 2 rare diseases, not just one, right? So it was very difficult to manage. And honestly, like I was going a little bit crazy. I still am, but it's fine. You guys, today's a good day. And I ended up reaching out to some different people on groups, and one individual, particularly at first, she referred me to this doctor, Dr. McLean down in Texas. And as the 4 months progressed, I noticed this doctor's name come up over and over and over again, and found out that he's basically one of the 2 leading specialists that I've discovered in the US. And he's been doing this for 40 years. He said it's taken like a large leap of development in the last 10 years, and he's really freaking good at what he does, right? So it's taken us from that time, right? June 24th was our diagnosis. I heard about this doctor in the middle of July until December 12th to get to see a specialist for Whit and John. I had a lot of different comments on some different reels that I've been posting, like, why are you even traveling? Why would you go? Is that even necessary? And the answer is yes. And my goodness, you guys, I am so freaking happy we went to Texas. And here's why. All right. First of all, love Denver. Love Denver Children's Hospital. Love the oncology team. Like the doctors are phenomenal there, but not all doctors treat the different diseases. When you have a disease this rare, they very rarely see it. It's not that they don't know what they're doing. It's just that they don't really, they have a textbook to follow for this type of disease because they don't have the patients. There's not enough numbers. In fact, even worldwide, they're trying to pool all of the data and information because there's just not enough numbers because because not very many people have it. Does that make sense? So love Denver and everything about them, but knowing that there are other specialists out there who do this, right? Dr. McLean, who does this, who's got, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of patients over the last 40 years who have this condition. This was something that just seemed very important. So we went out to Texas. We saw our new oncologist, Dr. McLean, who's going to work hand in hand with our team here in Denver. In fact, they have a very good relationship. And the doctor here, Dr. Garrington, is happy to learn from Dr. McLean about the situation. I think he was asking him questions for the last 5 months, trying to figure out exactly like what our plan of action should be. But a couple different things that we learn in hindsight is that we started with the wrong chemotherapy. We wasted about 6 weeks of chemo, which is fine. It's not that big of a deal now, but it was 6 months or 6 weeks of additional chemo that he had to go through with the prednisone. That's not what standard protocol would be had we seen the specialist sooner. In addition to that, we had the wrong scans done in between. It should have been a consistent scan of an MRI and a PET scan instead of an X-ray. And yes, this is like one doctor to another's opinion, right? But looking at the specialist, what would be protocol if we were seeing that person was just like very interesting to me. So now we have a relationship with a doctor who, like, you guys, I just have to tell you, like, he made us feel like family. He made me feel confident. He made me feel so much more peaceful about, I mean, you guys have seen some of my videos in the last couple months, right? Where I went on this histiocyte meeting and I'm like, wow, like the recurrence rate is way, way, way higher than I thought. And like the first scans we go into, the first real scans, he's got 5 new tumors. Of course, my confidence is kind of like, you know, it's been hit a few different times. So he gave us a new renowned confidence, and he knows what he's doing, right? And he has a plan of action if what he's doing doesn't work because he's seen it so many different times. So here's where we're at with that piece of it. All right. Like I said, new doctor. He's got all of the different information. He explained to us that had we stayed on the vinblastine protocol, the very first chemo that we did, there's a 50% recurrence rate. This is the numbers that I've been hearing, right? Like hearing where I'm like, wow. So like for the rest of your life, you're just waiting for this to creep back in. 50% of the people, you flip a coin. Are you going to get this or are you not going to get this again? And that's with that different type of drug. Now we've moved up 2-3 levels. We're up to a drug called clofarabine. And I was like, why don't you guys just start everybody on clofarabine if it works that good? He said, because it's harsh. You're seeing that. It's difficult. The ANC drops down to next to nothing. He's going to get a fever with everything. You guys are going to be in and out of the hospital. It just is what it is, but the drug works. And that piece, you guys, made me feel so good understanding that it's a 10-month process, right? 10 more months from where we're at. And that it actually works. It does its job. And with patients who have clofarabine, there's only a 10 to 15% recurrence rate. Such better stats, right? And with that, it's usually within the first year. So it's not like you're 15 and you're waiting for it to you're expecting it to knock on your shoulder, which if you just had been vasting, that's what it was, right? So you guys can see how important the care is and how the change of care is, which is just, it's just so, I don't know, I'm so elated about it, right? Other things with him, we're participating in some different clinical studies. We're providing different spit samples. They're doing everything they can to identify different genetic factors that might play into this so that they could more easily and readily identify it before kids do get diabetes insipidus, because that's one of the most damaging long-term effects, right? Because that doesn't go away. It has a couple times. So we can still work on this whole mindset of curing it, right? But and I mean a couple times in the past to a few humans ever. But they're trying to figure out how to support kids with it better. So here's our plan of action for the LCH. We go in, we do rescans on Tuesday. Dr. McLean will get the information right away. Him and Dr. Garrington will work hand in hand, which is so freaking cool. Then they're going to create our next plan of action, which most likely McLean says, I would bet good money on it that we're going to see some positive results. John says, well, I don't have good money or a lot of money. I don't know what he said. He's like, well, I'll bet you a couple shovels of snow. We're going to see some great results on this next one, trying this new drug. If we don't, then we add this thing called inhibitors, MEK inhibitors, which is one of the other leading doctors in the nation, Dr. Kumar out of Cincinnati, Ohio, is really leading the research on that. The problem with inhibitor, because a lot of you guys do message me and ask about this, and I'll do more short videos about this later. I know some of you guys want cohesive information though, is the inhibitors, they basically like take care of the result of the problem, but they don't take care of the problem. The gene that's been mutated, that's finding home in different areas, like the starter gene, the MEK inhibitor, it doesn't look like is actually taking care of that, but it takes care of the like the other things that it does, right? So like let's just say the tumor in his humerus, like it could go over here, it could go and it could clean it up right away, but it's not taking care of the problem that's going to keep occurring. So this is why, you know, and so it could be a long-term drug. They don't know the side effects. So it's why it's not something that's like the go-to star right now. I think the future of treating this disease will probably be inhibitor plus chemotherapy on some level. And if our scans don't look phenomenal, we'll add in the inhibitor and keep doing what we're doing. The other thing is that our doctor here in Colorado was like, we might go down to 2 days instead of 5 days. Maybe we'll do 6 months instead of a year. And Dr. McLean was like, absolutely not. Like, we want to make sure we get this and we get this incomplete. So we want to make sure there's no, like the least amount of recurrence rate as possible. So when they see all of the areas not activated and the bone starting to come back, they might reduce the days after 6 to 9 months, but they will never, like, it's going to be 12 months no matter what. So it gave me like a plan. It gave me confidence just in the way that he spoke about it. And that's just the oncology piece, you guys. You guys know that I've had like a crazy ride with endocrinologists. We ended up seeing an endocrinologist out there, and it's not like you can specialize in LCH when you're an endocrine. That's not the way it works. Instead, they have a lot. This is the thing, right? Because Dr. McLean attracts all of these different clients to him who have diabetes insipidus as well, because they have LCH and their pituitary has a tumor, these different endocrinologists see a lot of these cases. So whereas our doctors here in Colorado, like our personal doctor, doesn't have any other LCH infant patients, like this is the first one. So, I mean, how confident does that make you? It kind of makes you feel like the guinea pig, right? Like, oh, you're my first client. And in Denver, they don't have a lot of cases at all. So here we are being able to meet with an endocrinologist, and you guys, the amount that he was able to educate us on and share about the entire process of the anterior versus the posterior pituitary, and what different actions we take next and what we test for each time, so we can make sure that it's not just his DI that's a result, but we're watching his growth hormone, his testosterone, his cortisol, his thyroid, all of these different things that can be affected. It was again so comforting and gave us so much confidence, even though there's a lot more gray areas when it comes to endocrinology, because there just is. It's just, there's a lot of things that play into it. He knows his plan of action and how things work, and it's very thorough. The biggest thing I think for him, you guys, that I heard is he's not textbook. From both of these doctors, my baby is not a textbook baby. Have you guys ever been like this? Like, you've been to the doctor and they're like, oh, well, you've got this, this, and this, so it means you have this. And you're like, dude, I'm not a textbook. You need to look at my whole picture, how I've been, like the whole thing, right? Like, you need to take into account my past, the current things, all the other things that are going on, just everything. And a lot of times doctors instead, they're just like, well, so, you know, you have LCH, we're going to start you with Vin Pred combo, and then we're going to move to cytarabine. If it doesn't work, then we'll move to Clo, then we'll move to, they have a map. They just follow a map and they assume that you're a textbook. After being out in Texas, I feel like they don't see Whitten as a textbook at all. They're looking at all the different pieces. They run multiple tests. It's like they couldn't give me defined answers on some things, because like, that's not the way that it works. Instead, we're going to watch everything about him. The endocrinologist, like, we're going to watch the way that he grows, the way that his mind develops, the way that his blood is drawn at different levels, how he's responding to that, where his cortisol is, you know, in the morning versus when he's vomiting versus when he's stressed out versus in the afternoon. All of these different cohesive measurements that are like this kind of messy hodgepodge of things, and they can account for it all. So I feel like that was a lot of information, and especially when you haven't even like really learned a ton about these different diseases, it might be like, whew, but this is the whole story, you guys. I am so freaking blessed that whatever person on Facebook, I did a video, somebody tagged somebody, it led me to somebody who led me to somebody else, which introduced me to Dr. McLean out in Texas. I'm so blessed for that. What? Yeah, I'm so thankful for that. And I know that it took a lot of work to get out there, right? I mean, you guys can see this 4 or 5 months of fighting with insurance companies, trying to figure out, we're still not done with that, by the way, but we're doing our best. We've had to have so many different, like, we've gotten denials. We have to go to them again, get denials. We have to go to them again. This is why we have to have that, because nobody understands when you have something this rare. There is the National NORD. National Organization of Rare Diseases that, supports all of us families that are going through different things that aren't like your broad spectrum, like stuff that you see all the time, right? And I'm just very thankful that we're going out there. They will be our continued care from this point on. Endo, I don't know how they're going to work. The endo doesn't really work together. They're kind of a different, like, unique thing there, but so don't know exactly how that's going to work. But we have an endocrinologist now in Texas. We have an oncologist in Texas. Plus we have our whole oncology team out here and all of our other doctors out here. So now we've got this like nationwide team that's working with little man to make sure he's getting the best care that he possibly can. And as you guys can see, I'm pretty jacked up about it. I will do, like I said, some other short snips, like shorter, Lindsay, get down here, videos. And I'm going to start raising more awareness. I have been messaged so many times from people who are experiencing signs that look close to things that are diabetes insipidus, otherwise now known as arginine vasopressin deficiency. And I know that I can support people, right? Because this goes so underdiagnosed, you guys. There are so many people that, like, the doctors, literally just like our doctor, who's phenomenal. My present got ripped open a little bit. Oh no, that's okay. Did you put it under Grandma's tree? Do you want to say hi to my friends? To my backpack. Ooh. And I just feel compelled to support people with it because it is underdiagnosed, that I could be sharing this different knowledge with you guys. I had somebody tag me today in somebody else's post about diabetes insipidus, because now she knows what it is. And she's like, well, tag Callie because maybe she can help them. And just so you guys know, I am so happy to have conversations, support other people. I know I might be slow to answering messages. Oh, that's okay. Just don't open it. But I do get to them eventually. And I am really hoping to help ease and alleviate some of the different pressure and stress that I've undergone so that other people don't have to. Okay, this was a long good morning sunshine, but if you guys have any questions about any of this, that helps me know what to support everybody else. Yes, can you say hi to my friends though? Do you want them to do hearts? Yeah. Well, you have to come over here and ask them if you want to. I want to see hats. See hats? This is my boy right here. This is my boy. I love him so much. All right, you guys, light and love from my house to yours. Please, again, any questions, I'd be happy to answer. It'll help direct me in what different types of videos to raise awareness that I can do. And go Texas. I know. Who would have thought? Who would have thought, you guys? Freaking loved it. All right. Bye. 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 Can I hear the hearts? Can she see them hearts? Oh, they're doing hearts? Doing hearts? Watch, I'll show you. I got to go back to the Facebook one. Oh.